Welcome back to another Chrome episode of the Striped Sweater Podcast, where the best time to listen is all the time. I'm one half of your hosts, the one about the squirrel and the tin cans, Zach Main, and I'm here with...
Get your earplugs ready, folks. I'm Alexander Beardslee, and we're back again.
With episode 14?
14? Yes.
Wow.
Yes, that's correct. Episode 14 of our podcast, obviously featuring episodes 14A and B of none other than Spongebob Squarepants, a classic cartoon. And you can call it classic because it recently turned 20 years old.
It did.
Which is pretty fantastic indeed. And it's cool to be, SpongeBob is my ride or die, like.
Although I did see
my day one boy.
Although I did see, and I know you saw because you were the one who shared it, that it's also today, on this very day, is the 20th anniversary of All-Star by Smash Mouth.
Yeah. I don't know, I think it's like the single comes out or something on that day. I don't know if the album came out on that day or what, but yeah.
Right, not really hip on the Smash Mouth lore.
But no, I mean, I'm actually pretty, I like Smash Mouth a lot, at least those two albums, the FUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUU hit.
Yep.
And then Astro Lounge is actually, I still think to this day, I think it's a good album. Like, I think there's a lot of good songs on it. It's just, you know, it's kind of like cheesy, fun pop with like, but there is like ska influence, especially on the first album I mentioned.
Yeah, guys, take it from me. You know, I used to think Smash Mouth sucked, and then I listened to that album, and now I'm a believer.
Well, you know that All Star is supposedly about being a Smash Mouth fan and being made fun of for being a Smash Mouth fan, and they're like being like, dude, like you're all good, man. You're an all-star.
I don't think that's what it's about.
I read that somewhere.
I think it's just about being a good, like, be your own all-star.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, but I don't know. I read that somewhere. I don't. Wow. It was a while ago, but
you're such a good reader.
Yeah, thanks.
I think that for me, the first time I heard that song was on like an old. I don't know why, but I'm pretty sure it was like Red Card on the GameCube.
Is that a soccer game?
It is. It was like the NFL Blitz of soccer.
Huh. I never.
You know, there was also MLB Slugfest.
Well, I know about that.
And of course,
so it was made by Midway then.
Yep.
It was like the same thing. I didn't know they made a soccer. That's funny.
And I believe it was. I'm a fan
of that series.
And then
like that. I like Slugfest and NHL Hits, and I like NFL Blitz.
NHL Hits is so good.
It's fun, yeah.
But there was that song, and I remember
NBA Jam, obviously.
I remember the song Funk Soul Brother. You know that song? Right about now.
Yeah.
Funk Soul Brother.
The Rockefeller Skank.
Yeah.
That's what that song's called, I'm pretty sure.
So I remember hearing that song, and it was like the same. I feel like it was the same soundtrack that I heard Smash Mouth.
I'm surprised you wouldn't have heard that song before that time.
Yeah, but
it was a while later.
Yeah, it might have been an earlier game too. It might have been like one of the hits games or something.
It probably was in an earlier game. I'm sure it was in a lot of games. That's so funny. Like, I'm looking at the Red Card thing. It's like, it looks like something I would remember, but I just don't remember it at all.
Yeah. Anyways, I was gonna say that I used to think that song said "Funk So Rubber,"
yeah,
and I didn't really know what it meant. And then sometime in my 20s, I think I actually found the song and found out what the actual name was. Well, that was quite the kind of boring tangent about video games and Smash Mouth.
Yeah, I think without further ado, we might as well just jump right into the SpongeBob portion of
the SpongeBob podcast.
This SpongeBob podcast. So it is my duty to ask, are you ready, Zach?
And it is my responsibility to respond with,
Aye, aye, Alex. Yep. Let's go.
Yeah, wake me up. I can't wake up. Save me. And we're back with SB-129. This is the future episode.
Yes. And initially we were wondering, okay, is that a reference to something? SB-129. I would immediately think, oh, that must be some Star Wars or Star Trek or something like that. But it's not. In fact, I mean, it's kind of the way that it's written out. I guess it could be considered a reference to just science fiction stuff in general. I don't know, but basically, it sounds like it'd be the name of a robot or something, maybe.
Right? Yeah, it is a weird thing.
But because it's SB-129, but so basically,
yeah,
we looked it up and it stands for SpongeBob, obviously, which anybody could probably figure out. But it's season 1. And this is the 29th episode, being 14A. It's the 29th overall.
That makes sense. But it is futuristic sounding and looking.
Yeah. So it's cool. Yeah, it's just a cool thing. But this originally aired on December 31st of 1999, which was the last day of the
world
20th century. So, and then the following day would be the first of the 21st century, the century in which we are currently living.
Wow. Do you remember where you were?
I was just about to ask you the same thing. I actually do have a quick story about New Year's Eve, 1999.
Let me hear it for the first time.
You got it, bud. We were at my mom's friend's house. I can't remember which friend. I'd have to ask my mom. I should have, but
you've had time.
I can't remember who it was. My mom probably wouldn't remember, to be honest. But there were kids there. They're not kids that I ever hung out with before or again that I'm aware of. I might have maybe once or twice, but
isn't it funny that there's kids like that you're like, oh yeah, this guy was at this party. It was my mom's friend's thing, and
we spent 5 hours playing whatever together,
and then I haven't seen him ever,
and I never saw him.
I don't even know his name.
There's I have all kinds of funny memories that of people that I played with or whatever.
Yeah,
that's just what you did when you were a kid.
And sometimes our parents are like, oh yeah, I remember, and I'm like, I still don't know who that is. So.
Yeah, right.
And I have kids who I don't think remember me, but we used to hang out all the time.
It's crazy. There's a lot of weird stuff like that. I was just thinking about that earlier. Just on a real quick side tangent. I've been going through a phase of listening to a bunch of 80s hair band stuff, and
because of dirt.
Not because of that, because to be honest, I was getting into Motley Crue specifically before the movie even came out for a little bit. I don't know, it was just the timing of it was really random, so it makes me look like I'm just a bandwagon fan, which really I was just getting into it on my own, I promise. But Skid Row, there's a song called I Remember You, which is they're one of the more popular songs. No, it was just funny. I was reading the lyrics and I was like, oh man, it just really hit home. And he's saying he remembers someone, a significant other. And then, basically at the end of the chorus, he's like, I'd want to hear you say, I remember you. And that really made me feel some type of way. And I was like, oh man, that's all I want to hear from certain people that I don't talk to anymore. It does to me sometimes. There's people I think about all the time that I will probably never talk to again for whatever reason.
And some of that's wrestling too, you know. I feel like eventually there's going to be a point where that's Travis, and he'll be like, "Oh yeah, I slept on Zach's couch one time."
No,
and
I
train
think,
together.
I don't know. I mean, that's just how life goes, though, because time goes by, and
Yeah.
especially if you are doing like cool stuff all the time, it's easy for stuff to just whatever. But no, I think Travis will always remember where it came from, because I think he is that type of guy.
Yeah.
That being said, back to my New Year's Eve story, hanging out with kids that probably never hung out with again. We were playing Diddy Kong Racing for the Nintendo 64. One of these kids who was older than me brought it, and he had unlocked at least one, maybe two of the battle stages, which I had never heard of or even knew existed, and that was like literally my favorite game that I played all the time.
Of course.
And I had no idea that there was these extra stages. I didn't even know there were like the space stages later on until years after this.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's just
and
funny.
you said you didn't know the battle games.
But
right?
yeah, that's that we were playing the battle games on New Year's Eve 1999. That was the first time I ever played those games, and then I had to go home and figure out how to get them myself. And I'm pretty sure the kid actually told me how to get the one, but he didn't know where all the keys were. You have to get those keys.
Yeah.
Which some of them, if nobody tells you where they are, you're not going to find them. Some of them
sure
are really well hidden. So,
and you have to use like some of them. You have to like use a vehicle you wouldn't
really
if you didn't want to win.
Right.
Or you wouldn't pick that vehicle.
Really,
unless you
all of
wanted
them
the
except
secret.
all of them except for the very first one are well hidden.
So you get pretty much an open canvas world. Which vehicle do you pick? For the one where you can pick all three, aren't there some where you can do all three?
Yeah, but when you do, that's the thing. I mean, obviously it was a technology limitation, I'm sure, but at the time they couldn't do, if you picked plane, it's like everyone was in a plane. Yeah.
There were some that were
Yeah.
opposite.
No, everyone was
Right?
always in the same vehicle. You couldn't pick separate vehicles.
I don't think so.
No, I'm dead positive.
Dead positive.
Yeah. Maybe in like just two-player like races against each other, but
Oh, yeah, that's I guess
don't
what I
know.
was thinking of. But not in like a full
but yeah.
thing. That's cool though. It's a cool memory to bring in the end of the world as we knew it.
It's just funny because like it's something that I remember specifically from that day, and it's like, oh wow, it was that day. So I definitely was not watching SpongeBob that night, because I don't think so anyway. I guess I could have been, but
What time?
probably not. I did not look up what time that it aired, but
Right, because you'd think maybe you watch some SpongeBob and then go to the party later.
could be, or whatever, maybe at the party even, because I'm sure we weren't playing video games the whole damn time,
Yeah. The thing about us too is like we we would want to watch the new episode because they would hype up new episodes of stuff.
Sure.
Which I also just recently found out that all of Jimmy Neutron, which is only 3 seasons, is on Hulu, and it includes both Jimmy Timmy Power Hours. But for stuff like that, you like wanted to be home to watch it, but like if your parents were like doing something, they weren't gonna go out of their way so you could watch a new episode. But now, like people our age, we, I got to get home and watch Game of Thrones. Like we have control over that now.
That is true. It's funny.
But we're not like, oh yeah, I gotta go. My daughter wants to watch the newest Puppy Dog Pals, and I can't stay.
Happy Scrappy Hero Pup. Yeah, but I totally know what you're saying. But it is funny. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't remember like really wanting to make sure I was home for stuff until maybe Jimmy Neutron time. So a few years later than this,
You know what is funny? I've had this memory for a long time because I was at one of my cousin's friend's house and I stayed there and we played games on Xbox. Mm-hmm. Mainly Halo and stuff.
Yeah.
But it was nighttime when we got there, and I ended up staying there, and I hardly really knew the guy, and I don't even remember his name now. But I remember there was a new episode of SpongeBob, and we were all kind of excited to watch it, and we were in I think it was middle schoolish. It was the episode where they all get superpowers.
Yeah.
And that was like the last one that I remember being hyped up about, watching a new one as it aired and then watching it. And I know that there were a lot after that I had seen, but never hyped up. And
that was
watched on
definitely
purpose.
towards the end of my run with the show, I would say, too, my original run with it, because I do remember that one, but I remember like not seeing it for a while. I remember hearing about it and then finally seeing it and being like, oh yeah, that was cool, you know. But it's just funny that that's the way it had to be. So do you remember just to remember like not having seen an episode of something and all your friends would talk about it and you're like, I just haven't seen that one. Like, I don't even know what you guys are talking about. And then sometimes you wouldn't see it for maybe the whole rest of your life. Like you don't.
It's not like you had control.
Right. You have to get lucky if you're going to see a certain episode, especially once you get, you know, into the thick of things where there's so many episodes to choose from.
Right. Like you're just chilling in your
chilling
in your bed, going through the TV guide thing, and you're like, oh, that one that I've been wanting to watch is on it. I have to stay up to like 1 to watch it.
Yeah. Yeah, good times. But anyway, that was a good little tangent right there. I actually really like what we talked about though. So anyway, that was the date on which it aired, December 31st, 1999. It's 11 minutes and 32 seconds long, so slightly longer than an average an average episode, you know. Storyboard artist Eric Weiss, storyboard director Aaron Springer. It was written by those two gentlemen along with Mr. Lawrence. The animation director was Tom Yasumi, and creative director.
Who is it? I have to know.
The driest dude in all of the hood.
I've never watched the show before, or I've never listened to the show before. I don't.
You don't know who the creative director of every episode of SpongeBob up to this point is?
I don't think so. I haven't really been paying attention.
I like to call it, well, since I know him pretty well, I call him Double D, a.k.a. the driest mon in all the lawn, a.k.a. the driest dude in all the hood.
The driest lady from Euphrates?
That's correct. Derek Drymon. All right,
cool.
So the opening of this episode is super cool and different. It's like got a space backdrop.
It almost looks 3D-ish. Like the letters like pop and they're all silvery.
The letters are like animated. They're like moving around in a way. They have life to them, and they're all chrome, if you will.
Like my web browser.
Like my, I don't know.
Like Yasumi.
Yasumi.
Like Tom.
Sue me. Yasumi. So anyway.
What if a hot girl fell on your beach and got hurt and tried to sue you? I'd let her sue me. You remember that movie? Sue me.
No.
You can't own the water. That's God's water.
No, I don't know what that is.
Super Troopers?
Oh, okay.
It's from the very beginning.
Yeah, I've seen it a few times, but I don't know all the lines, I guess.
I like the second one too.
So SB-129 is cool. It's unique, I guess, because of this opening, and also there's like a voice that reads the title of the episode.
SB-129.
Sunday morning. It is.
That was bad. It's more like Sunday morning.
Dickhead.
It is. It's the opening.
I know.
The narrator.
You're just silly.
And we see
Squidward.
Squidward
is getting ready to treat Bikini Bottom to some real music.
And we can see that they've actually painted everything in here, like Squidward's house and the pineapple. They have like the dawn of the day is like reflecting off everything, and it's hand painted.
Yeah.
The scale is kind of different. Like when you see Squidward, the size of the window in Squidward's house and like how far it is from SpongeBob and everything, it's kind of different. But anyways, he's gonna play some music.
Yeah, he's getting ready to play out his window as he normally does. And as he's walking over, we see SpongeBob snoozing in his room, just across the way there. And, the clock is ticking and blah, blah, blah. Squidward is inhaling and getting ready to blow out that first note. And just at that moment, SpongeBob's alarm goes off. And the blowhorn of his alarm shoots right out of his window into Squidward's face, basically, and is blowing,
air and sound.
Just blowing right in his face, and so hard and right at the perfect time, so that Squidward inhales his entire clarinet like into his throat, and it's even like poking out the back of his like neck.
Yeah, like when he swallowed that fork.
Yeah.
But yeah, the mouth of the clarinet is like now where his mouth is.
Yeah. So right, when he tries to talk or anything, it's just weird muffled clarinet noise.
Isn't this the part too where they say your name for the episode?
Well, the narrator says it at the beginning. He
Right.
says, it's time for Squidward to practice his clarinet, so get your earplugs ready.
Yeah. So then SpongeBob wakes up and he's like, "Hey, Squidward, do you want to go jellyfishing?" And Squidward can't talk because this clarinet is jammed in his throat, and he's just like,
Yeah,
and he's like, "Great, I'll be right over."
He's clearly like trying to yell obscenities at SpongeBob, but
he's
SpongeBob
got angry eyes.
Does not pick up on the body language at all. Sweet, innocent, oblivious SpongeBob.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Okay, cool, I'll be right over," like,
Yeah. So Squidward does get the clarinet out, but right as he does, there's a knock on the door, and he's like, "Wonder who that could be."
Yeah. And sure enough, I mean, we all probably guessed it, the viewer at home.
With a little twist.
It's SpongeBob, but he does have Patrick with him.
Yeah.
At the door, and he goes, "Ready to go?"
"No, I'm not ready to go."
And then slams the door.
Yep, always loved that.
That's a good, memorable
delivery.
little line, right?
Yeah.
And Patrick, I love, Patrick being the more
take a hint. He can take a hint.
he can
sometimes,
take the hint better than SpongeBob can in this case.
but he can be swayed to not take it.
Yeah,
too.
yeah. His instincts are like correct, but then they're easily like taken away by someone else.
Right,
Who just
'cause
tells him because he's that like gullible and what have you.
But he says, he maybe doesn't want to go jellyfishing.
He says he doesn't want to play with us, and he goes, "No, Patrick, he's just not ready." And I just love how SpongeBob says it so like matter of factly, like, "No, silly, like,
yeah,
you should know better. Squidward loves playing with us," like, and it's like, come on, no, you're an idiot. He never plays with you guys. Like, what are you thinking, SpongeBob? That's just his sweet, innocent nature.
right. So they keep knocking on the door and asking if he's ready, and then Squidward is just now. He's like standing and he's just opening the door saying, "No, no, no." And he's just opening and closing it a bunch.
Well, yeah, but he's still going, he's going, "No." And SpongeBob's going, "Now, now. How about now? Now?"
How about now?
No! Huh?
Now?
No!
Now?
No!
How about now?
No!
Now?
No!
Now?
No!
Now?
No!
Now?
No! No! What?
Ready yet?
No, I'm not ready. I'll never be ready. Don't you get it?
Sure we do.
What?
He's slamming the door over and over, and then eventually, he continues to slam it, and SpongeBob and Patrick disappear from the doorway, and now they're behind Squidward inside of his house.
Yeah, because he's just slamming it and no one's there now.
They must have come in through the window, but anyway, SpongeBob taps him on the shoulder after Squidward realizes that they're not there, and then he's like, "What?" And he goes, "Ready yet?"
He says, "No, I'm not ready. I'll never be ready." Don't you get it? He's like, "Sure we do." But it's pretty clear that they don't.
And Squidward gets all upset and shuts the door.
Right, but they're behind him now, so he's leaving his house.
But he walks away from them, so he walks out of his own door.
Yeah.
Because they're inside of his house now.
Yeah.
And then realizes, oh man, like, can you imagine being like so upset and that happens to you and you just slam the door to your own house with people inside of it and now you have to go back in with them still inside.
Yeah. So, but then
you would feel like such an idiot. Oh man.
But
I can imagine being that mad though. Like about, I mean, I don't know, certain things.
He just got caught up in it and didn't realize what he was doing. 'Cause
Yeah.
he walks away. He's like, "Wait, what?" And then he knocks on his own door, and they're like, "Are you ready?"
Yeah.
And he slaps his face.
Face palms, if you will.
He does, but with tentacles.
Tentacle palms. Face tentacles.
So he's really getting tired of these guys. And
Yeah.
then he's like, "Shouldn't you be at work?"
Yeah. And SpongeBob is like, "I'd love to, but it's Sunday." He's all sad.
And Squidward knows every time he goes to work, SpongeBob is always there.
Well,
Like,
he would
they
also know.
need to be there.
He would also know that while it is Sunday, the Krusty Krab is closed. Why would he be at work?
Right. One of them alone can't really run everything.
Well, I'm just saying he
Right.
works there, so he knows they're closed on Sunday. So
Yeah.
why would you even propose?
That's why
you
he's
know?
not there. But it triggers him like an idea in him when he says that it's closed. He's like, "Okay, sure, I'll be right out." And he closes the door, and then you can see him sneaking off the left side of the screen.
The left side of the screen, which, from the perspective of the camera, would have him walking in the direction that I think that the Krusty Krab is located.
Right. He's obviously trying to get them off of his trail, so he's going the wrong way and circling around. Taking the long way, if you will.
It could be, but there was, I can't remember which episode it was, but there was one we missed, and I pointed it out to you, and you acknowledged it, but neither of us can remember which episode it was now. It was one of them. Oh, man. Squeaky Boots, I think. Yeah. Squeaky Boots. Yeah, I think that's it. Krabs grabs the boots, and he, like, runs over to the Krusty Krab, and he goes my way.
Or the highway.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that was it. But anyway, so
Sure.
yeah, we've got a couple instances of the Krusty Krab being located to the audience perspective of the oh man, I can't do it. To the right of SpongeBob's pineapple is where I think the Krusty Krab should be.
But it's definitely less that it happens.
So far, but we'll see as time
Yeah.
goes on. Because more and more it's been my way. Just saying.
It's happened twice. Don't get ahead of yourself.
Yeah.
So Squidward runs away, and he gets to the Krusty Krab, and it's just unlocked, and he just goes right in. He's
you can
like-
just push the door right open and walk right in.
Yeah,
No
he's-
security or anything.
He says hello and makes sure no one's there, and he's finally happy.
Yeah, he's
Now
alone.
I can play the clarinet
right.
alone in peace. But just as he goes to, we hear Squidward, and it's the boys
The
looking
boys.
for Squidward.
The boys already went into Squidward's house, realized he wasn't there, and then went looking for him. And
Yeah, we could've-
immediately went to the Krusty Krab. Right
We could
behind
assume
him.
they did a quick B&E in Squidward's house.
Yeah.
And then went to the Krusty Krab, and then they put their hands, over their eyes so they can see. into
see
the
through the
window.
glass. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can see Patrick's belly like pressed up against it too.
Yeah. Nice.
But then they just walk right in because apparently everybody can just walk right in on a Sunday.
Yeah,
it's
so
closed.
they start looking in, and Squidward runs to the back of the restaurant, of course, as to not be seen, and then ends up, because they come into the restaurant, he has to hide in the freezer.
Yeah. So can we also mention that why is the Krusty Krab not open on Sunday? Because Krabs doesn't seem like a church man.
The holy day.
He doesn't seem like a church man.
It is just the day of rest, like whether you're
Sure,
a
but he loves
church
money.
person or not. Yeah, no, you're right. I mean,
Maybe he's a big football fan,
could be. It could be football. Yeah.
and he doesn't think they can run it without him there, even though he doesn't do anything
Yeah, he
except
just sits in his office.
get these people to actually do their job sometimes
Yeah.
and not be insane idiots.
So Squidward is inside of the freezer, which we've never seen the freezer before. This is the first time, and
But it's in the kitchen area,
yeah,
and it's in the back. Yeah.
yeah, and so they're in there. He's in there. He successfully hides as the boys give up and leave because they can't find him because they don't look in the freezer for whatever reason. I guess why would he be in there? You know?
Yeah.
But also, I don't know.
Well, because
Why would you even check in the kitchen to begin with? You're already yelling his name. Like,
Yeah.
he would answer you. Like,
if he wanted to,
Yeah.
yeah. But they're, SpongeBob's like, well, we gave it a good look, and then he decides, I bet that eager beaver is at Jellyfish Fields waiting for us.
yeah, right. So they're off to Jellyfish Field. Squidward is like, all right, they're finally gone, finally. And goes to open the freezer, and it's not opening. And he's like, uh-oh, well, it's okay. Someone's going to realize that I am gone, and they'll come looking for me. And then we get the very first time card ever that is accompanied with the narrator reading it. Because
Yep.
we have had a time card once before, but the narrator did not read it. It was only a visual gag.
And this is perhaps the longest time
There's
I can imagine. It's one of the longest.
There's
time
one I
periods
can
for
think
sure.
of that's longer off the top of my head. You're probably thinking of the same one, right?
Not when the narrator. There is one where the narrator changes because it's been so long. That one's funny.
Yeah, but there's also one eternity later,
Right.
which is
that's
the
right.
longest that I can think of.
Yeah.
But this is a very long one. This is
2,000 years later.
I'll be out of here in no time.
2,000 years later.
so Squidward is completely frozen in a block of ice in the freezer. Nobody has opened that freezer door in 2,000 years.
And there's a lot of stuff in there. So there's stuff that I'm sure is just being wasted. And this really, I want to know what happened to Squidward's house, too. When did they decide, well, everybody's died. that's
He's
known
obviously
Squidward,
gone,
you know?
even though
This
you
is-
could see his face through the window of the freezer.
Yeah, so if you just were in the kitchen and you just happened to look back, you would see his face.
But nobody did that in 2,000 years. That's
Yeah.
the joke, obviously, is that nobody noticed he was gone.
Yeah. You can see that now the Krusty Krab is all chrome looking.
Yeah.
And you can see one piece of it is not chrome looking, and that is the hinge that's holding the freezer door there, and it's looking rusty and
Yeah.
falling apart. And at this point, 2,000 years later, it breaks, and now Squidward's laying like on the freezer door, but it falls forward, and he's like in a block of ice attached to
a
it.
big chunk of ice. And, he's just stuck to the door, and it's we will notice, and we, of course, it will be remarked on that everything is chrome in the future, as we can see. Everything is shiny and has a reflective animation effect on it, which is pretty cool.
Literally everything, even the ketchup and mustard dispensers, the grill,
Everything.
every single piece.
So he falls out, and then we see a SpongeBob. We see SpongeBob, as
But
we
he
are
has-
to assume.
but he has
is.
like rocket boosters.
But he is
in his
flying.
legs.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
like flying through his leg holes in his pants,
With
and
flames.
with flames coming out of him. He remarks, "Holy Krabby Patties, a frozen cephalopod."
Well, first he flies over Squidward, like doesn't even look
oh
down.
yeah, he
and then
doesn't even.
He has to
notice
like
him at
circle
first.
back.
Right,
yeah.
right. He double takes and notices him the second time. So anyway,
He's just doing his, surveying
his
of
rounds.
the cafeteria.
Yeah. He pulls out a chrome-plated hammer and goes to, looks like he's going to strike the ice to break it, but instead, right as he gets close to the ice, he stops and a laser shoots out and starts to melt the ice. it goes straight down, cuts through the ice, you know, quickly where the laser's at. So the laser comes in contact with Squidward's posterior. That, you know, is so shocking to Squidward's system that he like
jumps up and
breaks the rest of the ice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Squidward is free from his cold, dark prison.
Greetings, Primitive.
Squidward is trying to come to, and he's like still stuck, and he's like, I'll be out of here in no time. And
He's like,
and then he's like, SpongeBob, is that you?
SpongeBob? No! I am Spongetron. Welcome to the future.
What?
Welcome to the future.
SpongeBob too, when he says his name, his face changes to like robotic,
yeah, and it's like everything looks more flat and curvy,
angular.
Yeah.
Right?
So he says, welcome to the future. And Squidward says, what? He says, welcome to the future. It's
Right.
like the same exact line played again.
Yeah. And Squidward
little
is
thing.
like kind of looking around and comes to grips with what's going on. He's like, what's going on? Why is everything chrome?
Everything is chrome in the future.
And then Squidward looks out the window and he's like, no. It can't be, impossible. He's lying. And then we see a flower sprout up from the ground which we can see outside. Everything is chrome. The ground, the trees, everything. And a flower sprouts up, and of course it doesn't grow in chrome. A man is somehow notified that a new flower has sprouted and drives his boatmobile up with his spray paint in hand and spray paints the new flower chrome.
Yeah.
So everything remains chrome. But I wanted to note that, right, the hinges weren't chrome, but also the inside of the freezer wasn't chrome, which
That's
why
true,
would
they-
it be? Because nobody went in there.
Yeah.
But it's just funny that like they were like, yeah, okay, we're gonna make everything chrome, and then still nobody went
Yeah.
into the freezer. They just were like, nah. Nobody goes in there. Like,
Yeah.
don't open that door. Like, nobody goes in there.
Yeah.
There's nothing in there.
I was using the Unreal engine at work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the video game engine.
I know about it.
And I turned off, or I like changed the camera to where it was only showing the reflections, and everything in my scene looked like this, where it was all chromey and stuff. I'll have to show you. It's pretty cool. Just take whatever 3D scene you got or you have going, and it looks like this.
That's cool.
Yeah. So he says, there's three of them now, right? There's three SpongeBobs. And
Well,
he said,
yeah, he goes, he goes, impossible, he's lying. And then the guy spray paints the thing and he goes, he's right.
Yeah.
And then Spongetron is like, of course I'm right. Just ask my clones. Spongetron's X, Y, and Z.
Are the other letters of the alphabet involved here?
Sure, all 486 of them.
And then this is where Squidward's mind is blown.
Yeah,
Future! 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 Thanks.
this breaks some connection in Squidward's brain. Something snaps.
Yeah.
And Squidward is forced to very delicately lower himself to the ground and get onto his back on the ground. And
Also, we should mention he does have his clarinet still, and he puts it on the ground.
Right.
Right, but he crouches down almost like he's gonna do sit-ups.
Yeah.
But his back is arched, and his he's like up away from it. But he kind of does like a motion, like he's doing sit-ups as well. But it's really just him having a meltdown, and he's going.
Yeah, it's like his body like going into shock or something.
Yeah, and if you ask anyone about this episode, I bet that they just say, "Oh yeah, future," and they all remember.
That's one of the more memorable parts of the episode. I remember as a kid just thinking it was so random that it was hilarious. Like, what is he doing? But I could at least understand that it was like a meltdown type behavior. Like, he's so nervous or anxious or whatever about the situation he's in that he's just lost control of his body. basically, and he's just like seizing and whatever, you know.
So then Spongetron has this like little device where a brick comes out and he just drops a brick on Squidward's head and it breaks over his head.
Yeah, and Squidward just casually goes, "Thank you," but then he is like, "Listen."
Yeah, and he like gets up and his shoulders are like shaking and he's looking fierce now.
Yeah, he's all freaked out. He's like, "All of you, I don't belong here. This is a horrible mistake. We've got to do something." And then they're all the gang of SpongeBob's is all like, jellyfishing. They all say it together.
They all pull out nets.
And then suddenly, out of nowhere, Patrick with two heads, like explodes into the scene.
Yeah, he
comes through
created.
like a portal or through a different dimension or something like that. Like, it's like, I don't know.
He's like teleported.
Yeah, I mean, it's teleported, but it's like, it's more than just like...
He's being materialized.
There's something weird that happens for him. There's like an explosion type noise or something, too.
And we should point out that you can see... It's a pretty cool visual. In the floor, you can see everybody's reflections because it's so chrome.
Yeah.
And even Patrick's in this.
Yeah.
But he comes in and says... Did somebody say jellyfishing?
Yeah, it's literally just Patrick with two heads instead of one.
His name is Patron.
Yeah, and I just like that. SpongeBob just goes, "Hi, Patron." I don't know why. That's just funny to me.
Patron, like the kind of people who do business at the Krabby Patty.
Such like
the Krusty Krab.
It's such like a small joke of like, it's just a different Patrick, and everything is whatever Tron. Like Squidward would be Squidtron if he didn't kill himself by freezing himself.
And
2,000 years before.
And there's a calendar, right?
Yeah, and it says March 6th, I think.
And then it looks like 4017.
Yeah, 4017 is what
or
it
it could
says.
have been 4077. It was kind of...
So I guess technically this episode started in the year 2017.
Yeah.
Even though
because
it aired
was
in
exactly
1999.
2,000 years.
Yeah, 2,000
right?
years to the day.
Yeah.
But
yeah, Squidward's like, "Do you guys understand? I can't be here. I have to get back. None of this jellyfish nonsense. I just need to go back."
Yeah. And he's like, "Oh, well," Spongetron is like, "Oh, well, why didn't you just ask? The time machine is down the hall to the left." And
he says, "Got to get back to the past. Samurai Jack." Jack.
Sure.
Right? You like Samurai Jack?
Kind of. Not too much, but
so Squidward
I wanted to say though too, just real quick before we leave this part of the episode, is that we are to assume that after 2,000 years, SpongeBob's ancestors still live in the same area and still work at the Krusty Krab. Yeah. After 2,000 years, they've never moved on.
And they're all robots now.
Yeah, but
maybe Mr. Krabs, having so much money, found a way to keep himself alive for a long time and continue his legacy. And he said, "SpongeBob is dead. I've outlived him. The only thing I can do is make a robot version of him to keep the Krusty Krab going."
It could be.
And at no point did he say, "And one for Squidward." He said, "Everybody will just forget about Squidward. Nobody will know who he is."
He makes one for Patrick, though, too.
Yeah.
Someone
he does.
Someone does.
It was probably one of the SpongeBobs.
Yeah.
And because they're like so dumb that they used the wrong algorithm and gave him two heads.
Yeah, right.
Anyways, he runs in, and you can see too by the beauty of animation, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can see everything is pretty painted and like clean looking with the chrome.
Yeah.
But the door on the right is completely chrome down the hall he's going to.
Mm-hmm.
And the door on the left is not chrome. It's like blue. Because it's going to open and animate. So he runs in. And now apparently there's a hallway from the kitchen onto the Krusty Krab. There's been some changes.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's fair to assume that
Right.
things would change. Right.
So he runs in.
Mm-hmm.
He runs in the door on the left, and he comes out, and he's like all cut up looking, and he's it's like a swirly looking cuts on him.
Yeah, it's like a spring.
Yeah, and the Spongetron goes, "Oh yeah, that one's the can opener. Try the one on the right." And then this door is now blue looking as well.
And he
doesn't
say anything. He just has that monotone like
blank
look
face
on his face, right? And just walks through the door, and then he's back to normal when he goes through the door. And that's when we're in a room with green carpet and pink wallpaper or something like that.
Yeah.
And there's just like a lever on the door, right, or a lever on the wall, I'm sorry. And it says future, past, and there's like some buttons and like a screen type thing.
And a keyhole with a key in it.
Oh, yeah.
Like you would start a car.
Yeah. Squidward, in order to figure out whether to go to the future or the past, he says, well, if SpongeBob exists in the future, then I better go to the past. And then he pulls the thing down to past and
turns the key.
The machine starts, and the room like is now like throttling through space and time, and it's literally like the room has now ripped out of the wall where it once was, and is now traveling through space and time with Squidward inside of it.
Yeah. So this dude is frozen in there for so long. He comes out and he's like, I gotta go home. So they say, okay, you can use the time machine. And then obviously he's not gonna return it, It's like, well, I guess we have to make a new one and put it in there.
Yeah, right. It's just gone now. They don't have a time machine anymore.
Yeah.
Unless he comes back to that time period.
I'm sure the new Krabs Overlord will love that.
It's just funny too because there's like wires sticking out of the wall and stuff, so it's like it's like hooked up, but it's also like meant to.
And obviously it can travel
leave.
without those.
Yeah, right. It's funny. So anyway, he finds himself in the
very past,
the prehistoric SpongeBob times.
Wow, primitive. That's sort of an old world charm. Well, I guess this is before manners were invented. Well, at least there's no sign of Sponge Brat. Maybe now I can finally be alone with my clarinet.
Yeah, this is like the times that our parents lived in as children.
Yeah, the Mesozoic era.
Yeah.
But it's funny because Squidward gets out and there's like some old-timey fish or undersea life, stuff that you just see in like textbooks and stuff. That type of creatures swimming by. But
and the music is really like, woo, it's like very.
Yeah, very. I don't know what the word is, but
it's a little unsettling.
Yeah. It's got like a ominous sort of jungly type feel to it. But I wanted to say real quick too before I forget, while we were in the Chrome version of the Krusty Krab, there's a really cool version of the end credits theme song that's all like futuristic sounding. It's just cool.
Beep, beep.
A cool touch. But anyway,
he's back in the past with Samurai Jack.
Yeah.
And he says, wow. Oh, I forgot to mention when he went into the time machine, he's like, this isn't what I would have done with the interior.
Yeah.
Right? He's always like,
he remarks on the interior.
Yeah, he's always like the pessimist.
That is like kind of his thing though, like interior design, art, that type of stuff,
Right, but he does say, wow, primitive, when he sees the time that he's gone back to.
The old world.
And that fish thing flies by quick, right? And he goes, I guess this was before manners were invented.
Yeah, right. And he's like, finally, I can be alone with my clarinet.
Yeah, and he says, finally, I'm gone from that sponge brat.
Yeah.
He calls him Sponge Brat.
Yeah. And he goes to blow into his clarinet, but you hear some weird some noise in the off in the distance, and he's like, huh? And then he goes to do it again, and then you hear some more, and then he's like, what? And then you just keep hearing more and more noise. And
but then we can see that it's prehistoric SpongeBob and Patrick.
Well, because
right, he's looking one way, and then there's steam blowing on his face, right?
Yeah.
And then we see it's like prehistoric Patrick breathing in his face.
First, SpongeBob's like in like the grass on the ground. He's in like a patch of grass, and that's when he's like
Where the Pokemon hang
he's
out.
like whittling something or gnawing on something, and that's like when Squidward notices him, and he's like, SpongeBob, and then SpongeBob turns around, and that's when it's revealed that he's all, you know, primitive looking. He's got like more ape-like features.
He has a unibrow, you know, he has fangs, he has a loincloth that's like brownish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he looks like a like Homo erectus, I guess. Or
Sure, yeah. Homo habilis, you know.
No, like one of the early.
Yeah. Homo erectus, Homo habilis.
Yeah. We know shit.
I have a thing for cavemen. I like them a lot.
All right.
Homo habilis was before Homo erectus, and then Homo erectus was like, you know, the before, you know, Neanderthal, and then Homo sapien and Neanderthal like were just split off from Homo erectus basically. And they existed at the same time, which is crazy to think about, that there was another human, like intelligent human like.
Right. There was like another level of evolution.
If you saw them, you'd be like, you're not the same as me. You're obviously different, but you're very similar, and
you also
you're
don't
also
have
smart, but not on the same.
You don't have the same mental
way.
capacities I do.
Well, basically, they were smarter in other ways. Like the Homo sapiens became smarter in like a sophisticated kind of way, and they became smarter in more of like a rough, tough kind of way.
And we're back from the history the history lesson portion of the podcast. I do like talking about stuff like that, but we're here to talk about Patrick. Yeah. So Patrick's sniffing in his face, and like he's breathing all over his face, and it's steamy. And you can see that Patrick has a yellow loincloth. Not the first time that Patrick's going to be seen wearing just a little bit of yellow on covering his private areas.
Yeah.
It will happen later.
His private areas. Patrick starts to get upset and like pound on the ground, and that's when Squidward says, "Is it time for your flea bath now?" And then a jellyfish swims by, and Squidward is like, "Oh, it's a little jellyfish," and it is actually tinier than like normal. I don't know if you noticed that.
I did.
And then Sponge and Patrick get freaked out by this, just at the sight of this tiny little jellyfish.
Like, what? It's just a jellyfish.
Yeah, they're like screaming and running around, and he's like, "Okay, well, I'm going away." And then he's like, here's a nice shady spot away from those fools. And he starts,
even though it's all kind of shady, but, and there's no tree or anything.
There's a lot more like plant life, it looks like, in this time. But Squidward starts to try to play his clarinet again, but again he's being interrupted by noises of the boys having
fun with the jellyfish,
apish noises. So Squidward is forced to go check it out, and he asks them, "What are you simpletons doing? You're supposed to catch these things," because they're sitting there just
torturing themselves with
handing it back and forth to each other and just letting it sting them, and they're like, you know, obviously shrieking in pain when they get stung, and that's what's interrupting Squidward while he's trying to play.
Right. So he's like, "You got to catch him here," and he says, "Give me your loincloth," and SpongeBob pulls his loincloth off, so he understands him too. He like pulls it off like a sticky note. There's like one underneath it as well. Yeah, there's one
underneath, right. That was a good gag, always. I always like that. And then
Me too.
He makes a net out of the loincloths.
And he has like a stick.
Yeah. And he's like, this ought to make things go a little smoother. And he's like, he gives them the nets, and they both put them under their lip like you would like a pen or a pencil or something, like under your or above your top lip, I'm sorry, under your nose, and they're like holding them under their, between their top lip and their nose, like, and they're just like, oh.
Yeah, like a little.
It's like a little.
You can hear them laugh. A
Glimpse of the laugh. Yeah. And then he's like, no, it's called jellyfishing. Like, and
Like
he shows
this.
them how to do it, right?
Yeah, he just kind of covers it and brings it down.
And he's like, and they're like, ooh, and they think it's cool, and they run off all happy.
Yeah, jellyfishing now.
Yeah, and at this point, Squidward runs back to the time machine.
Well, he tries to play his instrument. He tries to play the clarinet, and they get pissed.
Yeah, right. He starts to play, right. Yeah, and it like incites rage within both of them. They immediately become enraged and want to kill.
Yeah, also we should have mentioned this is the episode where the like savage SpongeBob meme comes from.
Which is like, as I recall, I mean, I haven't remained up with meme culture too much, but as I recall, that was like one of the first like popular SpongeBob memes that went around. I mean, that was like years ago now.
In the right context, it's still good.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
It's still topical. So, yeah, they get pissed and they start chasing Squidward, right? Like they're gonna beat his ass, and he runs to the time machine.
Yeah.
He doesn't know where to go, right?
Yeah, he runs into the time machine and they're on top of it, and he's like freaking out, and he's like, "Get me out of here!" And he just moves the lever up and down really fast to try and like make it go faster.
Yeah.
And then he breaks it, and
the handle breaks off,
and then the word "future" on the screen starts to like move like a slot machine. Like the three things start to move, and then it's 2 lemons, and then bar is the third one.
Yeah, and it says loser.
Yeah.
Lemon, bar. Like who knows what would have happened if it would have.
Yeah, right. If he got all lemons,
Yeah.
right, it would have been, everything would have worked out for him.
But he didn't get a lemon. He got a rosebud.
Indeed. And then this sends Squidward into
it just like vanishes.
Limbo or something. I don't know.
It's just a white background, and he just walks on the screen. Kind of like the episode of Looney Tunes where Daffy Duck is like fighting with the artist. You ever seen that one? It's one of the most popular, of course. It ends up being Bugs Bunny. But this time, he's just in like a void. And he goes, oh, great, finally, somewhere where I can be. And he, like, the camera zooms out real far. And when he says the word, it appears in letters above him in like a word bubble.
It comes out of his mouth.
No more SpongeBob. No more. I may finally have found a place where I can be all alone. I gotta get out of here.
Alone.
As everybody, all these random voices say the word, it's printed out differently, and like some of them are in cursive, sans script, sans serif, like they're all different types of fonts.
Sure.
And they're going alone. But then at one point the camera zooms out, and there's no more alones being made. It's all this one area, but now it's all getting smaller.
Yeah.
And Squidward's getting even smaller.
It's a very like, I don't know, like surreal art type experience.
Yeah, so it's pulling out and it's like alone.
Yeah.
Alone. And then it goes back to Squidward. He's like, I gotta get out of here.
Yeah, he's gonna go crazy if he stays there for sure. He recognizes that.
So he starts to. Oh, also we didn't mention that as he was coming here, there were a bunch of weird words going across the screen. Like there was.
Oh yeah.
It said asparagus,
and there was
said,
like some math. Wasn't
there was
like
a square root of 13 on there.
It wasn't it like square root of 13 over the square root of 13 or something
Yeah.
like that. It was something weird. Yeah, it was just weird, random shit thrown on screen.
At first, there's panels. That's right. There's little panels, and he like lifts it up, and it just kind of floats and. Keeps going.
Yeah. It's a very like surreal art type thing, like avant-garde art.
But this time, after the alone thing, he starts running, and he's like running to the front left of the camera. Yeah. And then he appears at the far
He just keeps
right.
running in a circle, right?
Yeah, as if he's playing Portal.
Sure. Or Pac-Man.
Yeah.
And Squidward is like, he's freaking out. He's like, "Where's the time machine? Where's anything? Where?
And he's like jumping and stomping his feet.
Yeah, like he's Kevin McAllister on around Christmas time.
Yeah, and as he's doing that, he crashes through the roof of the time machine.
Yeah, luckily, he crashes through the roof, and he's like, "I want to go home.
I want to go home. Want to go home. Want to go home.
I miss Bikini Bottom. I miss my Easter Island head." Which that was
they actually mentioned that it's Easter Island.
I never heard of Easter Island before that. That was the first time I ever heard of it in my life.
Yeah, I even miss SpongeBob.
Right. So he admits. That he misses that his life is okay, and he misses the things about it. He even misses SpongeBob.
But then it's like time traveling again, and he ends up pretty much outside of his house in what we think is current times. It looks like it, and it's just this big time machine room there, and Patrick and SpongeBob are right outside.
And he gets out. He's all excited to see them. They're just like, "Hi, Squidward," and he's like, "Oh, I can't believe this! I was in space, and I went to the future,
and then I was nowhere,
and I went to the past, and then I was nowhere, but now I'm back."
Does this mean you're ready to go jellyfishing? He's like, "No!" Like he still does not want to go jellyfishing.
And he's like, "Who's the barnacle head who invented that game anyway?" And he goes, "You are, Squidward."
Yeah, and then they all laugh, oh yeah, so they're all laughing, and then it's like pulling back, and you can tell the scene's about to end, and you can hear Squidward's voice just as it closes. He goes, "I'm going back."
yeah. He's going back back in time. But it's funny that they say you are like it was passed down that a squid invented jellyfishing in prehistoric times, and it's a well-known part of its history.
Yeah, and they apparently know that it's the same guy.
That it's him, right? It was Squidward the squid. Good. That's a good little gag at the end. And this episode, it's so weird, but I do hold it in high regard. And I believe it was the second episode right after Ripped Pants on the SpongeBob DVD that I watched a lot of, the Nautical Nonsense and Sponge Buddies one. If not, it was definitely on that DVD, so I've seen this one a lot, and it is just, it holds a special place in my heart. It's definitely a weird episode, but a good time nonetheless. What do you think, Zach?
I give it 129 SBs.
Very good.
It was great. Very iconic, very memorable, very quotable, very memeable.
So, without further ado, let's move right along onto Karate Choppers, which, of course, is episode 14B. It aired alongside this one. It aired alongside SB-129. It's 11 minutes long, and what do we have? Storyboard artist Eric Weiss. Storyboard director was Aaron Springer. It was written by those two along with Meriwether Williams, which is a first in the opening credits anyway. Potentially could have been working on the show in a lesser role that doesn't get an opening credits mention, but Meriwether Williams, I just thought that was a funny name. Animation,
it's a good wrestling name.
Yeah, Meriwether. Animation director was Tom Yasumi, and creative director was Derek
the Diamond. Of course I remember him. I can never forget him.
A Jamaican man who just despises water on his flesh.
Yeah. Do not try to touch that with water.
Do not try to give him a glass of water.
The man doesn't wash his hands.
He hates it. So anyway, Karate Choppers. This is a really fun episode.
Yeah.
And a really, to me, memorable, but it wasn't memorable until I watched it again, and then I was like, oh wait, yeah, I love this one. But it really kind of, I had kind of forgotten about, the intricacies of it. But
Yeah, so it opens up with SpongeBob doing like a reverse tiptoe. He's like moving backward and keeping in front of him, and he's like kind of in a karate style thing with his hands, and he like bumps into his house and he chops it, and he goes, oh, sorry, Pineapple House, I thought you were someone else.
yeah,
So it looks like he's on edge. He thinks he's being followed or somebody's nearby that's going to do him harm.
mm-hmm.
So he keeps walking. Then every time it looks like he would step, you just see kind of his body bobbing. You hear a duck noise. It's like,
Yeah.
wah, wah.
Yeah, with each step, there's
Yeah.
another duck noise.
And
Yeah.
then it like zooms out and you can see that there's ducks on the ground. He's just stepping on them, and then he like kicks them. He's like, what? Get this out of here.
Yeah, that's such a good like small gag that is so, I don't know. I didn't even notice it at first. It like took me a minute to be like, oh yeah, okay, that's funny. It really is.
Yeah,
like,
because
it's really
like
funny.
they use a lot of weird sound effects, so it's like it's not weird for it to be duck noises, but then it's like, oh yeah, it's just stepping on ducks.
There's literally ducks there, and that's why that noise was there. It's
Yeah.
funny.
So he goes like behind the couch. He's like, I know you're there. You can't hide from Sponge. And he
Yeah.
like jumps over and he goes, Bob.
Yeah. Sandy is not there. He thought he had figured it out.
Well, we don't know that it's Sandy yet, right? Or did he?
No, he says no. He exclaims that it's Sandy at that point. He says, "I know you're back there, Sandy."
Yeah, right. And then he's like backed up to the couch.
Yeah.
And his eyes, they pull from inside of his head, like they go through the back of his head.
Yeah.
And through like the outside of the couch, so he can see what's going on the other side of the couch.
Yeah.
And apparently he thought he saw something because he's like, haha, I gotcha. And he like runs over and there's no one there.
So he sits down and decides to watch TV, and he's
Yeah.
like, "I guess the coast is clear." And he's watching the TV, and it actually, we see like a glimpse of what he's watching, and
It's live action.
it's a literal like live action fish, one
Pink
of
fish.
those like pink and yellow types, which I think is represented in the Finding Nemo aquarium. I think that's the one who looks in the mirror and is like, "Oh, that's my sister, Flo," or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I think it's that type of fish. I could be wrong, but
Right. But it's just there, and we're acting like it can talk because it says, what's with the seafood aisle? Who eats that stuff? And it's funny because obviously it's like they were eating people.
Yeah. It's a funny, right? It'd be like if we had human in human meat in a can,
Yeah.
in our supermarket,
Or
but
any other sentient being. They just have a lot of sentient animals, and we only have
I guess so, right? So
But SpongeBob's laughing. He's like, ha 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 ha. Yeah, I love this show.
yeah,
And then Sandy goes, me too. And it pulls out, and they're both on the couch. They're sitting there.
it's a fight scene, right then and there, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, they're all karate chopping. They say "hi-ya" every time, which is fun.
Yeah.
I say "hi-ya" when I wrestle because I think it's funny. Not necessarily because of this, because
It's just
"hi-ya" is definitely a thing that was said well before SpongeBob. But nobody really says it in wrestling, and I make a point to make it really like funny and fun when I say it, and I think people appreciate it. I hope they do. But yeah, so they're fighting. There's like some Matrixy type
slow motion.
slow-mo for a second. I don't know if it's necessarily Matrix or if it's just, kung fu film type stuff, because there is like an old sound effect that goes along with it. Sandy, what does she do? She comes forward and SpongeBob jump. Oh, okay, yeah. She dives towards SpongeBob, and SpongeBob like splits in half at the waist to dodge her.
And then he puts his helmet on. He's like, safety first.
Yeah, just a second. And he's
Yeah.
like, he comes back, safety first, wink.
Right.
And he's like, now spin technique. And he's spinning around, coming towards Sandy. He grabs her and spins her around, and then he...
Yeah, she's like spinning like a tornado.
Yeah, and then he puts her in the... Well, he announces his move, which you have to do, obviously.
Of course.
It's the double overhand squirrel knot, and like basically puts her up into a ball, like, and then bowls her like a bowling ball
Yeah.
out of the door. And she's like, I'm gonna get you tomorrow, SpongeBob. Like, so it's just like part of their game. It's just like who can beat the other one at karate.
Yeah, and he's like, ha, that'll be the day.
Yeah, right. Which this is fun too, because now SpongeBob, even though just a few episodes ago he was a complete weakling, now he can like hold his own in a physical contest.
Yeah. It's a fun little thing.
Yeah.
That they play. So then it's like it goes to nighttime and we see Sandy at home. She's got like her nightcap and her gown, and everything in her room is like made of wood. Like everything. Even her phone. That we'll see. But she's reading a book that says nuts on it.
Yeah.
She even has like an oil lamp in there. And
A bit risky.
yeah. She has the phone ring. She gets up and picks it up, and it's like almost like 2 acorns on a stick.
Yeah.
And we see SpongeBob's hand reach out of the phone, and it's like chopping around with his glove,
with his
red
karate glove. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we see him at home, and he's got his hand in the phone. He's like, hi-ya,
Yeah.
hi-ya.
Yeah.
And he's like chopping around.
He's just blindly trying to chop her.
Yeah.
And what does she do? She grabs his arm and then puts it through the opposite end of the phone receiver, and
he punches himself.
and it ends up he gets himself basically. She turns it back around on him, and she's like, nice try, Sponge Brain, and hangs up. And then she hangs up the phone while his arm is still through it. So it's like, how does that work? How does he get his arm back?
It just grows back. It probably fell off.
It just falls off.
Yeah. Then we're at the grocery store next.
The Bargain Mart, this is the first time we return to the Bargain Mart since
the
episode
first?
1.
Yeah.
Sandy is shopping. She's pushing her cart through the aisle, and there's a whole aisle full of Kelpo, which I guess is like Cheerios or something. I don't know, corn flakes.
Yeah.
Cereal though. And it's a yellow box, similar in shape and size to SpongeBob. And it's not the first time that we'll see that comparison, SpongeBob to a cereal box.
Right.
Or, I mean, it's not the last time, I should say. I said it's not the first time. It's not the last time. And a box falls off the shelf, and she, like, freaks out for a second and is like, yeah. And she's like, oh, silly me. And then SpongeBob's on the opposite side of...
Yeah, when she turns back around.
Behind her, right. And
he's in his karate gear as well.
Yeah, he's already suited up. And he's like, hey, Sandy, have you ever heard the one about the squirrel and the tin cans?
And she's just like, I don't think so.
Yeah, right.
And he goes,
it goes
well,
like this.
Yeah. And his arm reaches out, and it, like, hits all these different, like, things. It's, like, shooting off of one of the aisles, and it's, like, he just has, like, this really big arm, and it's deflecting off of different things. And then it's about to hit the floor, or it's about to, like, punch her, but it stops, and she even kind of, like, flinches, I think. And he's like, wait, what was the punchline? And he stops and thinks. He's like, oh, yeah. And he just, like, hits the floor underneath her in a way that it, like, picks her up and throws her across the aisle. And she, like, is sliding in, and she just barely touches this stack of tin cans that falls on her.
I know. It's so funny, like, the way she, like, slowly, like, slides up to it and just taps it, and then they all fall down. They're like empty cans. That's what's weird. They have the sound effect of empty cans.
Yeah.
It's like, why would there be
sell
empty
them?
Cans there? Yeah, unless they just sell the empty cans for your own canning.
Yeah.
Could be.
So now SpongeBob is strong. As we mentioned, he's strong.
Right.
He goes, that's a good one, isn't it? And then they leave.
Yeah. And SpongeBob is walking down the street, and he's like, What a beautiful day, beautiful sky, beautiful plants. Hi, plants. Beautiful. And then sees a pile of cans. He sees like there's just a pile of cans on the ground.
As he's just describing everything beautiful.
And he just goes, Sandy, that is your worst disguise yet. And he's like suiting up to.
Right, but he thinks that she's like disguised in the cans.
In the cans somehow. And she goes, no, this is probably my favorite line of the episode.
Yeah.
Just her favorite gag or whatever.
Yeah.
Because she goes, no, it's not SpongeBob. And then she pulls up like this like shitty like looking paper squirrel mask.
Yeah.
And she goes, this is.
And she puts it like on the glass. Right, like over her. It's like when...
well, I think she just holds it up, but it's animated in a way that it covers her face. Yeah.
It's like the episode of TNA Impact when Rob Van Dam's like high-fiving people and someone in a Sting mask hits him with a chair.
Yeah.
And he pulls off the plastic Sting mask and it's Sting's face.
To reveal his painted face.
Yeah.
That's painted exactly like the mask.
Yeah. It's just like that.
It's kind of similar to the sticky note gag from the loincloth too. Mm-hmm. Like peel it off and there's just another one underneath.
Yeah. So she says, this is, and then she says, now prepare for a long, merciless whipping. And she just like reaches out and grabs his tongue and pulls it to her.
Yeah. And I love how he's just like rendered motionless now that she has his tongue. It's like he can't do anything.
Right. He's like sitting there with his arms out. And
he's like, ah.
Similar to how he acted when Squidward's device grabbed his nose.
Yeah, right.
An employee of the month.
Just totally can't move.
Like Goku with his tail.
And then this is good because this is probably one of my favorite things in the whole show, this hot sauce thing.
Yeah, so she has a bottle of hot sauce, and it says volcano sauce, and then it says hot again on it.
Quick side note, remember the volcano or the lava sauce from
Yes.
Taco Bell? Oh,
Yes.
It was so good. Oh, man. Good times.
I wish.
I know. I love that. Volcano burrito, bro.
Yeah.
Like, get out of my face. This
A
shit
lot
was
of
so
people
good.
love volcano sauce, loved it, and then... But the thing for me that I loved as a kid that went away was the zesty chicken border bowl. That's what I would get all the time.
I don't know about that.
It was like a Chipotle bowl, you know, but
yeah,
Taco
you're just
Bell.
a weirdo, though.
It was great.
No.
I'd get it all the time. So, yeah, she's going to pour this hot sauce on his tongue.
Yeah.
And she goes to do it, and there's a drop, like one of the drops of hot sauce is like suspended in the air, and you can see it zooms in, and there's a face in it.
I love it too. There's like thunder and lightning behind him.
It's like evil
because he's an evil hot drop of hot sauce. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's Tom Kenny, his face and his voice, and he's like,
by the powers of naughtiness, I command this particular drop of hot sauce to be really, really hot.
Daddy, wait! Victory is yours.
right. He admits defeat. And
I knew you'd come to your senses, SpongeBob. And then
Right,
she
she's, like,
drinks
gloating.
she drinks the hot sauce.
Yeah, she's just chugging it now like it's nothing. And then SpongeBob grabs his tongue and pulls it out, and you can see that it's actually just it says novelty toy, I think. on it.
Yeah.
And she grabbed this fake tongue that he was wearing just in case she grabbed his tongue.
Yeah.
And,
He thought well ahead.
Uh-huh. So then he
wraps her up in it.
because she's still holding it, he like uses it to wrap her up and then pull her almost like a Beyblade, right?
Yeah. Or a ripcord.
Yeah, so she's like spinning around. He goes to give her the final blow, and she chops him, and he goes flying, and like Team Rocket style, he's flying away, and he goes, curses!
Yeah. Now we go to the Krusty Krab. The place is packed. Customers like ordering. He's like, I think this is the Fred part, right? He's like, with extra cheese. Yada, like
Tago, or whatever
he
it
sounds
says.
so weird right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like Tago, but it sounds very strange. I'll play it.
With extra cheese. Go.
Yeah, and he's like, three patties, large oyster skins on the double SpongeBob, and SpongeBob just has his gear on, his karate gear on inside the kitchen, He's
SpongeBob.
basically trying to locate Sandy and be one step ahead of her.
Yeah, he like opens this little drawer under the grill, like looking for her in there. It's like a door.
Yeah.
And Squidward's like, SpongeBob, because he didn't hear him.
Yeah.
And then SpongeBob chops him right in his nose. And
Yeah.
there's like a big indent in it. And Squidward goes, I'm going to pretend that didn't happen.
Right. And he throws some orders at him, and he's like, fill these orders or leave, SpongeBob. We're very busy. And SpongeBob is like, oh, order up. And he comes out, of the kitchen with Patty in his hands. And
Patty's,
he sees...
like a tray.
Yeah, and he sees, I think it might be Fred.
Yeah, it is.
Start to swat at a fly that is, flying around his, personal area. Or not personal area. I shouldn't say that. That makes it sound weird.
It's in his personal space.
His personal space. That's all I meant.
Yeah, it's flying around his head. He's like, what? And he's like trying to hit it.
Yeah. So he's like chopping at the air. Right?
Yeah, you can hear it like. Whoosh,
yeah, you can
whoosh,
hear the chop noise. Right. And
which is a whip noise.
right. So
he's like chopping this fly, but then he like turns into Sandy, and he sees like SpongeBob sees it as Sandy in disguise.
Right.
And she like looks at him and winks.
Yeah. Right. And he's just like staring at her, and he's like, and then Squidward is like, SpongeBob, are you gonna? And then SpongeBob throws a tray backwards at Squidward.
Yeah.
And they land on Squidward's head, and Mr. Krabs is like, I was going through some records, and back at the office, and he's like, oh, so you got a new hairpiece after all. And then,
so you got that new, like, they were talking about it before, you know?
Yeah,
oh, you
right.
did get it, because there's just a bunch of patties from, like, one side of his head all the way to the other going over top, so
Right.
it looks
Kinda
a
like
weird
hair.
little-
Yeah.
And then we hear, my leg, and SpongeBob, like, is fucking up Fred.
yeah, he's beating the shit
He's
out of
under
Fred.
the floor, yeah.
Yeah, he knocked him like into the floorboards.
Yeah.
Hi-ya! Thought you could sneak up on me at work, did ya? Well, you can't, 'cause I'm fast, I'm mean, and I can do this.
I'm fast, I'm mean, and I can do this. And he puts his arms together and does like like a wave.
A little wave thingy.
Yeah, and it's like wah, 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 wah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes a little noise, and then he's like, took care of her. Yes, I did. And then he bumps into Mr. Krabs, and he's like, oh, ahoy, sir. And he's
Yeah.
like, what was that? And he's like, but sir, she snuck up to me in my own dojo.
In my own dojo.
And it's just funny that's like SpongeBob's dojo is the Krusty Krab.
Yeah.
He's like, are you on some new allergy medication? No, sir, just practicing my karate, or karate as some call it. And he's like, you should be making me money with your spatula. Now get back to work. And he goes,
Aye, capite.
yeah. Nice hairpiece, Squidward. And then he leaves. And then it's closing time. Squidward's mopping up. And he asks SpongeBob if he has mopped the bathrooms yet. SpongeBob goes,
Yes, ma'am. I mean, sir. I mean, boss. I mean, Poobah.
Pooba's funny. I feel like nobody knows that anymore. The only way that I feel like I knew it as a kid was from the water buffalo meetings that Fred Flintstone would go to, and there was the Grand Poobah.
yeah, right. I know about that. That's
the water buffalo, isn't that what it is?
Yeah,
Buffalo.
Yeah, they're like the order of the buffalo.
Yeah.
It's just like the moose or the eagles or any of the masons. We have all that stuff in real life. That's like what it's supposed to be like.
Right. So he's like nervous, almost talking to.
Yeah, right. Why is he?
Squid.
Yeah, right. He's like, ma'am, sir, like he can't figure out what to call him. Squidward is frustrated with him and tells him to go. SpongeBob walks into the bathroom. First time we ever see the bathroom here, the Krusty Krab. And he's gonna mop it up, and he hears a sneeze. So he opens up the door of the stall. There's no one there. And he opens up the next door, and he's like, ha, Sandy. And
yeah, and then Mr. like you can see water splash.
well, he
and-
like dives into it, right,
Yeah.
to beat her up. And Mr. Krabs walks out of the stall with SpongeBob.
He's like holding him, yeah.
SpongeBob, and he goes, "No more." And he's like, "But Mr. Krabs," and he's like, "No more of this karate stuff,
Yeah.
or you're fired."
He grabs him by the mouth and is like squeezing it, and there's just a little bit left, and then he lets go, and SpongeBob's mouth is all like it looks like a trunk almost.
Yeah, it's
and
all.
and the very end of it, it goes fired, fired. Yeah.
So yeah, he's all nervous, but anyway, or he's all sad about that. He has to quit doing karate if he wants to keep his job.
Yeah.
Both are
Which
very
he does.
important to him. So he leaves work and
Yeah.
he's like,
So let's just talk about Krabs was in there doing something in that stall. Obviously, we would assume he's pooping, but he just walked right out with his pants still on.
jacking it,
Jacking it, jack. I think
spanking it, jacking it, spankety smack.
Must be hard with those claws, though.
Yeah,
Eek.
he's going to jack it.
So who knows what Krabs was doing in there?
Jacking it all. I love that.
But SpongeBob's like, oh no, I can't. I don't know. How am I gonna tell Sandy? And then he walks outside and Sandy's like chopping him, and he's like, no, Sandy, I can't stop. And he's just standing there, and she's like, I'm sure you're not gonna fool me. And she just keeps like going.
Yeah,
and
she's
chopping
she's
him
just
and-
like it's so funny because she's just like, hey, she's like moving all around his whole body to like get all sides of him, like, hey, yeah, like, and like he's just standing there. He's clearly not trying at all. And she's
Right.
like, you're not gonna fool me. Hey, yeah, like,
and
just
he's
keeps going.
he's like, no, really. And then we see Krabs looks out and sees what's going on.
Yeah.
And he walks out, and first he goes, what the? When he sees him.
Yeah,
Walks out. Goes, what did I just get done telling you, lad? He's Mr. Krabs. But, SpongeBob is just standing there. He's not performing karate,
Right.
but he's involved in a karate.
yeah, he's having
event.
karate performed on him.
That sounds weird. when
Yeah,
you
I
say-
know.
Yeah.
But he doesn't know what to say, and he's like, SpongeBob.
But, yeah, he's going to tell her, like, oh, but she...
Yeah, right.
she
He's
didn't
trying
believe
to
me.
he's trying to explain, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, SpongeBob, you're fired. And then Sandy realizes,
Right.
like, oh, what?
Like this was...
yeah,
He was telling
this
the
was
truth.
serious, right?
He goes, fired? And then his
Yeah.
face, like, it, like, swirls
Yeah,
completely
like, it's
into
like,
nothing.
It's like a toilet flushing, and kind of, like it swirls down, or like a sink or whatever.
Yeah.
It swirls in like a sinkhole or something.
Yeah. Like a
and-
drain. Yeah, his face is completely gone. And then it shows Krabs. He's like, huh? What? And then SpongeBob's face comes back out, and his like eyes bulge out and everything. And he goes, rah!
Yeah.
Like he's crying so
I love
hard
it.
and loud.
Yeah, yeah. It's like a very dramatic, like, there's no question about it. He is very, very sad and upset about this. Like, his eyes are bulging out of his head, and he just screamed crying
Yeah.
in my face. Like,
So he's crying, and he's running around in the back, just running and running. And Sandy's like, he tried to tell me it's my fault, and she's trying to explain, but it's also in the background of SpongeBob crying. He even runs upside down, like he runs on the ceiling of the shot, like he's just going insane. And
Yeah.
she's just telling him, no, it's my fault. And then it shows him, SpongeBob is crying into a mug. He's like, ha, ha, ha.
Yeah.
And then he like drinks all of the tears right away.
Yeah, but the tears are like pouring out of his eye holes. Like,
Yeah.
like a faucet.
And then he drinks the thing of tears. He's crazy.
Yeah, he's like hysterical, crazy, upset. And then she's like, yeah, it was, he tried to tell me, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, all right, I'll give
Yeah,
you one.
give him another chance.
I'll give you
please.
one more chance, but no more karate. It's poisoning your mind.
Right. He like stops him. SpongeBob's going by and he just grabs him and puts him down.
And then
He's like,
he sniffs and he smells Sandy.
yeah.
And he makes like almost like like he's grossed out by her smell
Yeah.
type of thing, and says mammals. Which,
Right. It's like karate's poisoning your mind. Mammals.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't know. That's It's funny because we had talked about Mr. Krabs potentially being racist in the past briefly.
Yeah.
Not really on the show so much, but that is kind of, that to me is racist a little bit. I mean, I get that she would smell different or whatever, but it's like,
It's
he's
specious.
straight up like, you smell bad because of who you are.
And
like,
you're-
that's
you're
like what he's
helping-
saying, like, basically.
And you're helping poison his mind. He's
Right.
like, it's almost like so much is going on. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
he's saying, but he's not like, of course you would get him into something like this.
In a way, right. He's kind of like, I really wish SpongeBob wouldn't even hang out with you because
Yeah.
you're a mammal. Like, like.
But then they're like, oh, she's like, oh, shoot, SpongeBob. Well, we'll find something at least 9 times as fun.
Yeah.
For some reason, 9,
Yeah.
Right. But she also, before that, the first thing she goes is, what's so fun about this anyways? And she just like chops SpongeBob and he like, the middle of his body is like pushed out because she chopped him.
Yeah.
And then it like goes back in and he's like, ha.
Yeah.
But, it's not fun.
Nothing's fun about that at all.
Yeah.
And yeah, she says the thing about 9 times is fun, and he's like, "Oh yeah, sure we can." Like he's like, "We can squeeze things," and he grabs a rock off the ground and he's just squeezing it, and he goes, "Ooh, how much fun was that?" And I love this line too.
Yeah.
Sandy goes, "Almost some."
Yeah.
She just says it so like innocently like that, like just it was not fun at all, but it was kind of fun.
Yeah, it was almost there.
like it was a little bit funny, I guess.
Yeah.
But then he's like, I know, we can act like plants.
And I always remembered we would do this at the playground sometimes. You just
Sure,
lay in the
yeah.
grass and do this.
Yeah, sure. I remember this was like a funny thing.
But he
at
gets on
school,
his
too.
back and he puts his arms and legs forward and then he pulls them out and he just goes,
Photosynthesis. Photosynthesis.
And then she's like, obviously that's not fun. So she's like, want to go to the park? And he's like, okay. Or he doesn't say anything, but they go. And then anyway, they're at the park, which this is the first time we ever see this park type area too.
and we see a man fishing.
Yeah, there's a man fishing, which he will come up in a second.
What is
too.
he fishing for?
Exactly. I know. That is funny. You never think about it, but it is like, what the hell kind of fish do the fish go fishing for? Like,
Yeah.
what the hell lives in that river?
Yeah.
It's seriously a interesting thought. But I just love it. They're like at the park, right? And SpongeBob is like,
They're going to have a picnic. They have a basket.
this is so funny because SpongeBob is obviously like, they both love karate and they both know it, but they both know they're not supposed to talk about it or anything, right? So what they do to try to get their mind off of it, SpongeBob goes, karate sure is dumb. It's just like a way of like acknowledging the thing that they both really want
Yeah.
without,
It's like, I just have to talk about it, even if
I'm going to talk about it in a negative way, but
Yeah. She's
It's-
like, yeah, you can say that again. You can tell
Yeah.
she's not enthusiastic about
right.
it.
They're both like just, it's very tongue in cheek,
Yeah. He's like, well, I feel dumb just thinking about it.
Yeah.
And he goes, duh, I'm stupid. I like karate.
Doi.
Yeah. And she's like, you like what? And he goes, not karate.
Yeah, like he's so above it. Like
Yeah.
he's
That
not
whole,
karate.
that whole sequence is such a memorable
it's
thing. Like,
I know I totally
what?
forgot about that. I'm stupid, but that was very funny.
Yeah. She's like, ha, I don't even know what that is.
I love the way that he looks when he does the I'm stupid thing too. He like makes himself look all dumb and he's like got his hands all weird and stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway.
But yeah, he's like, she says, I don't know what that is. And he goes, me too. I don't know what anything is.
In fact, and
Right.
then that's when we see the fisherman.
Yeah, you get like.
Because you hear the noise behind them of the chopping, the whip noise, and he's also saying, "Hiya,
Yeah.
hiya,"
As he keeps
and
casting.
they both look. He's just casting his fishing rod. That's all.
And he's like, ha, for a second that sounded like. And then-
Karate. Sandy finishes his sentence.
yeah, and he's like, right now?
because they're both addicted to it. Like,
Yeah.
they're both just addicts, like trying to act like they're not addicted to the thing they're addicted
Right,
to.
he's like, the timing of it's good.
Stop! For a second, that sounded like karate. Right now. I mean, No, what is this karate? What do you want on your sandwich?
Karate.
What did you say?
Mustard? Mustard. I want mustard on my sandwich. There we go.
And he's like, oh, and he takes it out, and he's like, there we go. And he pulls out the barnacle loaf and asks her how much she would like. And she goes, one, just one.
Yeah, how many slices?
She's kind of like still nervous, like about the whole thing. Like she's just like an addict. You know, that's like what it is. They're doing like an addict type thing.
Yeah, it's like, just give me one.
Yeah, just one. That's all I need. Like, I don't really care. I just want karate. That's really all I want.
And he puts his hand over it and he lines it up and he's like, one for you. And he chops it.
The barnacle loaf just looks like some sort of like summer sausage or something. You know,
yeah, it's pretty big though. It's like a salami stick.
Something
like
you would, something you could bring and just make a few sandwiches out of. You know?
That was my go-to move when I would take people to picnics. You know,
you would
when
slice
I was in high school
stuff with your hand.
No, I'd get like a big old salami stick and some cheese and crackers.
Of course,
good old time.
You would.
Nice blanket. So he's like, one for you, and he chops it, and one for me, and then he chops it, and you can see Sandy's looking like, what's going on, and it's like slow mo.
Yeah,
and he chops, and it like falls out and spins,
and it's so satisfying looking. Yeah, like and
then they're about to eat the sandwiches, and she's like, oh, actually, maybe I could get one more. And he's like, okay.
Yeah, she's like, I'm kind of hungry.
Yeah. And he goes to do it, and she's like, maybe I can cut this one this time? He's like, well, all right, okay. Sure thing, Sandy.
Yeah. And she goes, thanks. Hi-ya. And she chops it, and she goes, is that enough? And he goes, maybe just one more.
Or two.
Or three.
Or 10.
10, yes, 10, because we're really hungry. Right.
Time for buns.
How about some tomatoes?
And I'll cut the cheese.
And what else should we slice?
More buns.
And lettuce.
Yeah, and I told you this when we watched it, but this was a line that we would quote a lot in high school, me and my ex-girlfriend or our friends. We'd be like, you know, how many? 10, yes, 10, because we're really hungry.
Yeah, right. How many would you like?
Yeah.
10. Yeah. No, I love that. And it's great because that's like that. They go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 10. And that's like, that's that extreme, like, we've let go of all of our restraint, and we're just cranking it up to like full, like we're doing this, like
right. It's great.
It's like full relapse. After that, I have a full relapse.
I lose my hand in a game of craps.
And after that, everybody calls me Claw.
And after that, I work for Tim McGraw. Hey. He does the look. Hey.
That's the best. Hey.
Right. So then now they just like, they start chopping a bunch of shit, like all the meat. And then he's time for buns. And he throws them up, and he's chopping the buns in half. Yeah. Because apparently they need buns. And then how about tomatoes? And then here's tomatoes, and they're pretty much just chopping everything.
And then we get the joke, which as a kid, this was funny. And I'll cut the cheese.
I'll cut the cheese because it means to fart.
A fart joke, right?
Yeah. It's silly.
And he does cut the cheese, literally, not figuratively. And what else should we slice? More buns, and lettuce, yeah. And they're just freaking out. They're both slicing up food to complete their Krabby Patties, and one of the buns lands on an earthworm.
Yeah, it's like coming out of the ground, and it's like, oh, geez.
Yeah.
And
there's food everywhere.
Yeah, they turned into Krabby Patties, essentially. Like, whew. Well, yeah, making sandwiches sure is fun, right, Sandy?
And they're all, it's like, this is totally like a drug. Yeah. It's definitely made because they're all satisfied now that they've had their drug kind of thing.
Right, they're coming down from it. He's like, making sandwiches is fun. You know, we're not doing karate.
Right.
And she's just kind of blankly staring, and he's like, well, I guess I'll eat one now. And he reaches for it, but then Sandy chops his hand, and she goes, "You're minced meat."
With her green glove.
Yeah, she's got the karate stuff.
Yeah, you're minced meat, and he goes, "In your dreams."
Yeah, it cuts back to him, and he's got his.
He's already got his stuff on, right?
Yeah.
In your dreams, and then they both start.
Yeah,
karateing.
You can just hear a bunch of stuff going on.
And then later, Mr. Krabs is sauntering through the park, as you might do on a beautiful day.
But with an umbrella, so he doesn't get,
too much
hurt
sun.
by the sun's rays, because he's already red.
Yeah, too much. You don't want too much sun.
Yeah. And they're just like laying down. You can see the park, like the tree is chopped, and the rocks and everything's like chopped in half.
Yeah, right. Everything has been chopped.
SpongeBob might not be strong, but he can really chop stuff.
Yeah, he can chop. That's for sure.
And SpongeBob and Sandy are just like laying down, and they're like in heaven,
Do you think Mr. Krabs ever does karate? Mr. Krabs! Hey, Mr. Krabs, how's it going? Nice day, huh?
I love that specific sound. Yeah, it's a very like
Yeah.
like it's like I don't know, it's just very.
And he's like, "Oh, Mr. Krabs!"
Yeah. I just love that too. Just laying there, just like, do you think Mr. Krabs ever does
Right,
this?
they're just talking.
It's
like
totally
they
a
had
drug.
sex.
Well, it's like that.
Well, it could be
or
both.
it's like they took some kind of drug, and then I don't know about you, but I have always like when I've experimented with drugs and alcohol in my life, I always think like, holy shit, like, have my parents done this?
Right.
Have
a lot of people.
And then you're like, holy shit, everybody has done this. Like,
Yeah.
and then it's like it's crazy because you're like, it's just at first when you first do something for the first time, it's like, holy crap, is this real?
Something
like, is this
everybody does?
Yeah, you do this like the first time you ever smoke weed or something, and you're like, you do this all the time to the person that you know who does it all the time. You're like, this is crazy. Like, how do you do this?
Yeah.
And then whatever, life goes on. But
Oh yeah, life goes on. But that was something that we would always say too. Like if me and my friends, or at the time it was usually all high school when we quoted a lot. But if we're just talking about something and we're laughing and we all go, someone would sometimes go, "Do you think Mr. Krabs ever does karate?"
yeah,
It's just
out of
like
the
a
blue,
happy
yeah.
little thing that you do.
Yeah, when you're just like, you're just done laughing about something, right?
Yeah, but SpongeBob has had enough, right? He's like, first he like picks up the tree and is holding the rock together. He's like, "Oh, hey, Mr. Krabs."
I love the way he
And-
goes, "Hey, Mr. Krabs."
Yeah, so
Like,
he's holding
so
the
nervous.
tree. He puts it together,
puts
and then
the
he's
tree
holding
back
the
together.
rock together. And then the piece of the tree falls back on his head. And he's like, fine, you caught me. He's like, you know what? I just can't help myself. You're just going to have to fire me. Like, now karate is more important to SpongeBob than his job.
Right.
But Mr. Krabs he goes, "Fire you? I've got something else in mind." And
Right.
he picks up the patties that they made.
Noticing
He's like,
all
"Oh,
the
yeah."
patties all around, right? He says, "I've got a better idea."
Right.
And-
So then it cuts to the Krusty Krab, and it's like they're putting on shows. SpongeBob and Sandy are making Krabby Patties by chopping stuff up in the air and everything.
Yeah, and it's funny, worth noting that they like built like a circular like a bar in the middle of the restaurant
Yeah.
for them to do this.
It's like a
in.
sushi
Like-
bar.
or like a Mongolian barbecue kind of.
Yeah. But it's like in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And it's made out of wood. Like somebody made it.
Right.
And
Yeah,
they're chopping the
just-
stuff. SpongeBob's even chopping the mustard.
So now, not
bottle.
only are they making Krabby Patties, that's also like an attraction.
It
you
is.
know?
It's a
Like,
show.
Yeah.
And they're also doing they love having fun and playing karate. So
Right. They're just doing the shit they would normally do.
Right, so Sandy's like, "I love karate," and SpongeBob goes, "I love karate," and Mr. Krabs goes,
I love money, eh?
and then Squidward with the last line again, "I hate all of you."
And I love it. I
Perfect.
think that's an excellent closer. Right. It's so
Yeah.
good. And
Is
it's
that-
just like brings it all back together, and it lets you know who everyone is.
Yeah.
Like Sandy is just a good old girl who loves karate. SpongeBob's just kind of a goofball who also loves karate, but has to say it different because he's a goofball. Mr. Krabs loves money, eh? And Squidward hates everybody.
Yeah.
It's just like, and it's good. It's just funny. It's fucking good
Do
shit.
you ever
right
think
there.
like Sandy's kind of the ultimate character? They gave her brains and brawn.
Yeah, that is pretty funny.
Like
but she's a mammal.
Patrick's fat and big, like he's got size and strength, but he's dumb as shit. And then everybody has their things, but Sandy seems to have everything except that she's like maybe too nice or.
Well, sometimes she's a little bit.
And she does have that
upper,
southern.
She's
tang,
well, she's a little
like
bit.
the spice.
Sometimes she thinks that she knows better than everyone else. I think I'd say that's maybe a weakness of hers. Yeah,
right. Because everybody. There's a theory about everybody being one of the 7 deadly sins, and hers, I think, is pride or something. I don't remember.
Sure. Well, Buffalo Diarrhea Fuck Farts. That
was a great episode.
That is 2 more episodes in the books, and that one was awesome. Yeah, because Karate Choppers, I mean, like I said, it didn't like really stick out to me too much. Like I remember them doing karate because I know they do karate in multiple episodes. I remember it being just a reoccurring thing. I didn't really remember the specific episode where it all began. But after watching it, it's like, oh yeah, this one's awesome. Like it's great, and it has a lot of good lines. It has a lot of good gags. Really funny stuff. So yeah, I mean, we're back. We're back into like golden episodes here because SB-129, while it is probably one of the weirdest episodes of the show of all time, is also very near and dear to me, and I love it. I love it a lot. This one is great too.
And next week we have 2 very big episodes as well. Well, they were at least pretty big to me. Sleepy Time and Suds.
Yeah, I noticed that too, and for whatever reason, those I do remember both specifically, but they do kind of stick out as ones that maybe I'm not super big on. But we will see because we do have some interesting ones coming up here that kind of I feel like get maybe forgotten a little bit in the next few episodes. But we will find out. And of course, you can find out as well by subscribing to the Striped Sweater Podcast on whichever platform you choose to listen to us on.
Even platform shoes.
We upload new episodes each and every Wednesday. And of course, each and every episode, we tackle 2 episodes of the classic television show SpongeBob SquarePants, as you have just listened to us do. We do that each and every week. So subscribe to us if you enjoyed yourself, and tell your friends about us. We're 2 SpongeBob loving guys who want to share our thoughts and our opinions about the show with you all, and we enjoy doing that so much that we're going to do it each and every week for you for the next year or 2 at least, until we get to a point where we feel like maybe we don't need to go any longer. But with the continued love and support from you, the fans, maybe we can keep this going for longer than we initially anticipated. So thank you so much for listening. I have been Alexander Beardslee. You can find me all over the internet at Ashton Waganda. Ashton Waganda is my alter ego in which I wrestle other grown men in a professional wrestling environment. Ashton Waganda. You can find me. That's spelled ASHTONWAGANDHA. I appreciate each and every one of you. Please, like, share, subscribe, leave us a rating and a review. I'm asking you that personally, not on behalf of the podcast, just personally. If you could do that for me, that would mean a lot. Thank you so much.
For sure. I'm Zach Main. Totally Rad _Zach. Mystified. Those are my handles. You can also get in contact with us at stripesweaterproductions@gmail.com. I did set up a Twitter for us. I think it would be cool because sometimes I feel like I want to tweet about SpongeBob related stuff, and I don't want to flood my friends' timelines with that. But if people would like it, it would be a fun thing.
That's cool. And
yeah.
I did recently see a really good vegan SpongeBob meme that would be funny. Like, it'd be fun to share and be like, oh, this is, what Alex thinks about all of you idiots who eat meat and drink milk. No, I'm just kidding. I don't think you guys are idiots, but I think you should make more informed food choices in the future. Yeah, hey, if you guys, Zach and I are both big video game fans. We're big movie guys, big TV guys. We want to create more content, podcast, YouTube, whatever, what have you. So if you have any recommendations on anything that you think might be fun to hear us talk about, please, reach out to us either at our Gmail or at our Facebook page, or you can even contact us personally at our social medias if that's easier for you. Whatever works. We want to hear your recommendations because we have a lot that we want to talk about, but, obviously it doesn't matter if the people listening don't want to hear us talk about that stuff. So your recommendations are very important to us. Thank you again so much, everybody. Like, seriously, it's been a great deal of fun doing this. I'd love to keep it going for years to come. So thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah, I really want someone to contact me so I could ask you a really important question. And I'm going to ask Alex the same thing right now.
Oh, boy.
What do you do with a drunken sailor?
Let's see.
Or how about a drunken snailer?
Is there any... Okay, a drunken...
Snailer.
Is there any special circumstances this week?
No special circumcisions.
What is he drunk on, if I may ask?
Love.
Drunk on love?
Yeah, he's punch drunk love.
I was afraid...
It's Adam Sandler as a sailor.
Adam Sandler in Punch Drunk.
Oh!
wearing a blue suit the whole time. Do you know that? Do you know that movie?
Which one?
Punch Drunk Love. Have you
seen
watched it? It's a good movie. That's one of my favorite filmmakers. PTA, Paul Thomas Anderson.
Yeah.
One of my absolute favorites. But let's see.
I gotta know, what would you do if it was Adam Sandler?
Adam Sandler.
It was like, why are you on my ship?
He's drunk as shit.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, honestly,
Abby Doobie.
in this Abby Doobie.
Abby Doobie. That's what he's doing. And he's moving his fingers all weird.
Who did that? Who did that? No, to be honest, if it was Adam Sandler and he was drunk, I'd be like, pass me some of those
that
spirits.
shit.
Yeah, like let's have fun tonight, bro. Like,
Yeah.
Fuck, I'd love to get drunk with Adam Sandler. That's like a dream come true.
It
like
is.
straight up.
Man.
Imagine how fun that would be.
Just to meet him would be insane.
Just to meet him, but think about like being at his house,
on his pirate ship.
welcomed into his pirate ship, and being like, let's get drunk together. And oh man, that's seriously like,
He's like, hey, let's sit down and watch some of my bad movies and get fucked
my
up.
life will never be that good
I know.
as that sounds.
Dude, could you imagine watching one of Adam Sandler's movies with him? That would be so much fun.
It'd be insane.
Obviously not like Jack and Jill. I'd never want to
Billy
see that thing
Madison
again.
or something. Yeah.
But yeah, Billy Madison. I was a big fan of
Wedding Singer.
Rain Over Me
Oh, I never saw that.
with Don Cheadle.
Yeah, I know.
It's a good one.
I know of it.
He plays Shadows of the Colossus. all day in
Don
Hanks'
Cheadle,
house.
another actor that Paul Thomas Anderson likes to use a lot.
Yeah, also was in the Avengers movie.
Oh yeah.
But good to know that that's what you do. So that's it.
And that's it.
Hopefully everybody enjoyed Game of Thrones. It is gonna be great after spoiler alert, the White Walkers came. Yeah, it was good. And then now they're on to Cersei. Let's see what happens.
I do not watch Game of Thrones, but I have been thinking about it more lately as like, maybe I should watch this. Maybe I should just give it a go.
Right, because you like to do stuff when no one else is because you're so hip.
Well, the thing is that you have to be able to like have your own opinion about shit. And I feel like when you watch shit and are constantly talking about it with other people, is like your own opinion starts to just become common thought.
I guess. I think a lot of people hated the last episode, and I really like it. I mean, that's something.
No,
I can never...
I'm not saying you can't
I know
have
what
your
you
own
mean,
opinion. I just mean
but
like
it sways you.
Yeah, right. You'll hear someone say something, and then you'll be like, "Oh yeah, that is kind of how it is, isn't it?" And that just totally wrecked my whole view of the way things were.
Yeah.
That being said, though, no, it's just. I tried to watch it a few years ago. I watched a few episodes of season 1. It just didn't click for me right away.
This is a long outro.
And yeah, that's fine.
You got to wait for the first big death. And then it's like, oh, this show's sweet.
I'll probably just cut all the Game of Thrones crap out anyway.
So,
right.
That's it.
Floppy golden wieners.
Foldy tolds.